Hey there, horror lovers. How's it going?
Hi, Stories Channel here.
Today we're going to be talking about a movie called Hatchet. It's a pretty intense one, so brace yourselves. The movie starts with two fishermen sitting in a fishing boat, late at night in a swamp. They are a father-son duo. The father is called Paul and the son, Ainsley. Paul lights up a pipe and starts to smoke as his son urges him to get out of there. Paul tells him about the 12-foot alligator he wants to hunt down and that he won't leave without it. Ainsley asks him to pull over so he can go and pee, to which Paul refuses. He tells him to go to the side of the boat instead. Ainsley gets up and complains about how he can't pee like this. They get into a little quarrel while he pees. Suddenly an alligator jumps out of the water, scaring both of them. It vanishes into the water as soon as it appears. Paul gets angry at Ainsley for letting it get away. After that, they dock the boat so Ainsley can go pee. Paul is in the boat as he calls out to Ainsley, saying he found the alligator. He shouts back at his father from behind the trees, to ask if he got it. However, he doesn't get a reply, even after calling out to him multiple times. He goes to the shore to find his father's blood-spattered corpse on the ground. He gets angry at this sight and tries to find and kill the alligator. Suddenly something jumps from the dark and attacks him. The attacker throws him against a tree, rips his arm off, then stabs him in the back, killing him as he is screaming for help. In the next scene, we see a lot of people celebrating Mardi Gras in the streets. They're all dancing around town and wearing colorful beaded jewelry. The women are flashing everyone as well. Here we are introduced to a group of friends as they walk down a pavement. One of them, called Benz, is not having a good time like the rest of his friends. His best friend, Marcus, tries to cheer him up by diverting his attention to a topless woman standing on a balcony. He doesn't care for what Marcus is doing and says that he has had enough of Mardi Gras. He tells Marcus that he isn't having any fun and wants to go on a haunted swamp tour. Everyone makes fun of him for that, which upsets him. He tells them that they don't have to come with him and starts to walk away. Marcus follows him. He tells him that he'll go with him even though he thinks it's a lame idea. They walk over to a tour guide's office and knock on the door. A man wearing a top hat opens the door. He has a weird costume on as well as face paint. He tells them that he doesn't do swamp tours anymore. He explains that insurance got too expensive when one of his clients hit his head and sued him for negligence. He further tells them that he knows someone who can help them. He gives them an address and closes the door on them. They walk to the sidewalk where Marcus tells Ben that this isn't the way to get over his ex-girlfriend. As a response, Ben starts an angry rant about his ex or new boyfriend and the fact that he is so ridiculously muscular. Marcus diverts his attention again and they start to walk down the sidewalk. They banter about each other's sex life as they walk. After a while, they reach the given address, which is a store called Marie Laveau's House of Voodoo. They enter to find a man named Doug filming a sex tape of a couple of girls called Jenna and Misty. His camera batteries run out and he stops recording. As soon as the camera turns off, the girls start to argue. They tell Doug that they aren't getting along. He gives them a little pep talk and starts recording again. Just then, a man in a weird costume shows up in front of Ben and Mark. They ask him about the tour. He tells them it costs $40. They pay and get onto a bus with a group of people. Marcus sits with Jenna, while Ben sits with a quiet-looking girl called Mary Beth. He starts nervously talking to her. She tells him she would prefer to be left alone as the bus takes off. After dark, the tour guide, Sean, tells them they are almost there over the intercom. Marcus makes fun of him for using it in such a small bus and everyone laughs. An old couple introduces themselves as Jim and Shannon Permatteo to Doug. They ask him if he's a director, to which he says yes. They ask what kind of movies he makes and he names some production house. The tour guide starts to give them a little introduction to their surroundings. The wife innocently debunks one of his facts, which upsets him. After dark, they park and get off the bus. Everyone scatters around. Doug starts to film Jenna and Misty again as they go topless. The guide starts to fix up the boat in the swamp. After it starts, the whole group gets into the boat. A man in another small boat starts to yell at them as they are getting on. Shannon tells Sean that the man is talking to them, but Sean refuses to pay heed. He tells everyone that he's a local alligator hunter called Jack Cracker and that he's crazy. Jack shouts warnings at them that the swamp is haunted and closed. They ignore him, start the boat and head out. Jack tells himself that they all are going to die. In the boat, Sean tells everyone that the swamp is infested with alligators. He tells them other facts about the area as well. He asks everyone to be enthusiastic as they are about to enter the most haunted part. He explains that a lot of fishermen have died here and they might see their souls floating over the water. Marcus is super bored and complains about it to Ben. Ben tells him to try to get together with Jenna, and they banter with each other for a bit. The boat approaches an old house on the side of the swamp. Sean tells them the legend of the house owner named Victor Crowley, who was deformed. His father struck him in the face with a hatchet and killed him. He says that legend says you can still hear Victor near his house. He can be heard calling for his father. Sean makes fake sounds and Marcus acts annoyed with Ben for bringing him. Sean takes them further and asks them to wait for ghost lights. Marcus calls him out by explaining that it is fog mist and not ghost lights. This frustrates Sean even more. He starts telling them about a treasure that is supposedly buried there by a man named John Donovan. Doug calls his story stupid. Suddenly, Shannon and Jim see a figure hiding in the shadows. They ask Sean what that was. He gets excited and tells them it might be an overactive spirit. After that, Doug pulls out a camera and starts shooting Jenna and Misty again. In the meantime, Ben starts talking to Mary Beth about his breakup with his girlfriend of 8 years, but she pays little attention to him. After a couple of minutes, the boat hits some rocks and gets stuck. They try to get the boat out, but it starts raining. Everyone gets frustrated. Jenna and Misty start quarreling while Ben and Sean try to free the boat. Everyone starts panicking. Jim suggests they get off. Some of them disagree, but Sean also suggests getting off. The boat is stuck next to a fallen tree trunk. Jim climbs on it to get off the boat, but he slips on it. Something comes out of the water and pulls his leg. Mary shoots it with her handgun and everyone starts getting off the boat as it sinks. Jenna, Doug and Misty slip and fall in the water and hurry out of it to shore. On shore, everyone is distressed. Jim's leg is hurt and bleeding while everyone else gets in an argument. Mary reveals to everyone that Sean isn't a real tour guide and that it's his second trip. He admits it and asks Mary why she has a gun. She tells them that she is there to find her brother and father. They came here and got lost a couple of days ago. She tells them if they don't get out of the woods they will die. These woods, she says, belong to Victor Crowley. When Ben asks who that is, Mary starts telling them the story of Victor Crowley. She tells them that Victor was born horribly disfigured and his father always kept him hidden inside. Kids would always tease him and were horrible to him. One night some teenagers tried to get him to come out of the house with fireworks but accidentally lit the house on fire. Mr. Crowley arrived and tried to get inside, but the door was locked and he couldn't. He picked up a hatchet and started to hit the door. Victor was pressed against it on the other side. He accidentally hit him in the face, killing him. Mr. Crowley died of heartbreak and now this part of the river is illegal to be in for years. She says that she told her dad and brother not to come, but they came here to hunt alligators anyway. Sean tells them the Crowley house was on the other side of the river so they are safe anyway. Mary tells him it wasn't the house. She points towards a house near them saying that this one is the real Crowley house. Everyone accuses Mary of trying to scare them. They decide that going towards the house is the quickest way out, thus they start heading in that direction. Ben tells Mary that it's all just a myth while they are walking, but she shuts him up. They are all talking to each other as Sean and Marcus carry an injured Jim along. They hear someone in the distance calling out to Daddy. They all get scared. They're near the house now and Shannon asks if anyone is there as she carries Jim along. She wants to find help for him. Everyone asks her to stop, but she keeps moving. A severely deformed man with an axe runs out of the house and starts stabbing Jim in the shoulder as everyone runs away. Shannon also tries to run, but Victor catches up to her and tears her jaws apart with his bare hands. Mary shoots him in the chest with her gun and he falls, after which she escapes. Mary goes back to everyone and tells them that the old couple is dead. They realize Marcus isn't there with them. Marcus tells them that he is up in the tree and isn't going to come back down. They all suddenly realize that Doug isn't with them. Doug is scared and running alone in the woods. Jenna calls out to him, but everyone asks her to be quiet. They try to call him on his cell phone but find out they lost Misty's phone while running. They decide to keep moving. They manage to get Marcus off the tree and head off to get help. In the meantime, Doug is hidden in the trees. He hears a sound and tries to run. However, bumps into Victor Crowley. He twists his neck all the way around and rips it off his head. On the other side, the group starts to quarrel. Sean and Marcus get into a physical fight and Ben breaks them up. In the meantime, Jenna finds Doug's bag in a bush. Ben opens his bag to get some flashlights and supplies. They find out Doug's ID. His real name is Samuel and he isn't a real producer. He was just making the girls' videos for his collection. They start moving along as Jenna cries about lying that she didn't go to NYU. She's upset about being stuck with them and thinks she'll die. Ben says no one will die, and just then Doug's body falls right in their tracks. Jenna starts screaming at the sight and Mary pulls out her gun. She shoots him as they run. At that time, they hear Misty's phone. They find it in the grass but realize that they have made their way back to the house again. Mary heads off to the barn to search for a weapon. Ben follows her as they make their way inside the creepy old barn. It's full of carcasses and junk. Mary finds her father and brother's bodies and starts to cry. Outside, the group tries to make a phone call for help. They hear something in the bushes. They send Marcus to take a look and he finds a raccoon in the bush. As he is about to tell them, Victor leaps out from behind Jenna. He gets a hold of her as the rest of them run away. Victor starts shredding Jenna's face with a machine when Ben and Mary show up and hit him with a shovel. They drop the shovel and run away while Mary screams and shoots at Victor. Sean comes back to save Jenna, but Victor breaks his foot off with the shovel. He snaps his head off his neck with it. After killing him, he picks up a very injured Jenna and impales her on the shovel. The rest of the group is running away. There are only 4 people left. Misty annoys Mary and she slaps Misty across her face. Mary says that Victor will kill them all. Marcus tells them that the phone is dying and they should be quick. They decide to go as far from the house as possible. Victor appears again and everyone runs away to hide. They make a plan to kill Victor by lighting him on fire. Ben says he saw gas canisters in the barn that they could use. Ben and Misty head to the barn while Mary and Marcus stand guard. At the barn, Ben finds a canister full of oil. As he is looking at it, Misty's head and torso fall on him and he sees Victor standing at the barn door. Victor tries to attack Ben, but Mary tackles him from behind. Ben throws the fuel on him and lights him on fire. They all think that it would end him, but it starts to rain. The group tries to run as far as possible as the rain puts out Victor's fire. They make their way to a cemetery and walk up to the gate, but unfortunately, Victor shows up there as well. He starts running after them. Ben falls and Victor puts his saliva in his mouth. Marcus and Mary free him, but he gets a hold of Marcus. Mary hits Victor and frees Marcus. They run and hide behind a wall, but he finds them and grabs Marcus. The other 2 run away. Victor breaks off both of Marcus's arms and slams him across a headstone. Mary and Ben run a bit further, but Ben starts throwing up and crying for Marcus. Mary pulls him with her to get out of there. They run towards the water, but Mary stops him from going inside because of the alligators. He turns around. Victor throws a spear at him, which stabs his foot. He is right at their heels and starts to run towards them. When he gets close, Ben stabs him with the same spear while it is in his foot. This kills him. Ben and Mary walk to the shore where they find her dad's boat. They use the boat to get away. When they are in the boat, Mary notices that Ben's foot is badly injured and she hands him her flannel to tie over on his wound. He thanks her for sticking with him and ties it around his injured foot. She suddenly starts to cry at her dad and brother's death. Ben consoles her, telling her to be happy because they made it alive at the end. As he says this, Victor pulls Mary into the water. She tries to swim out of the water, but her foot gets caught in something. She sees Ben's hand extended inside the water. She takes it. She is pulled out of the water to see that it is Victor holding Ben's severed arm. Ben is lying in the boat. She starts to scream and the movie ends. That's it for today, guys. Hope you enjoyed and found today's movie as creepy as I did.